So here's the moment that everybody keeps dancing around, but that nobody is really talking about. The microphone. That tiny, stupid microphone said more about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's relationship than any royal expert or palace press release ever could. You might have missed it if you blinked. But when Prince Harry had that mic and pointedly did not hand it over to Meghan, that was not a fluke. That was a statement. It was a quiet, awkward, and incredibly public power move in front of cameras, lights, and a crowd that didn't quite know what to make of it. And Meghan? Oh, she tried. She stepped right up, completely uninvited, in a wrinkled outfit that looked like it had lost a fight with a suitcase, desperately hoping to insert herself into a moment that was clearly never meant for her. But this time, the old playbook didn't work. Nobody clapped. Harry barely even acknowledged her. The man she's usually glued to on stage barely turned his head, let alone handed over the coveted spotlight. There was no passing of the mic, no chivalrous gesture, no ladies first. It was just silence, stares, and a massive, visible shift in power that played out live for the world to see. That moment alone could have told you everything you need to know. But here's the real kicker. Almost nobody is talking about it. The mainstream press has been radio silent. They are still clinging to the outdated fairy tale. They are still desperately pushing the power couple angle while completely ignoring the elephant that was stomping across the stage in high heels and a deep tan. Meghan wasn't even supposed to be on that stage. And yet there she was, forcing the moment, hijacking the camera time, only to be left standing there like an unwanted extra in a film she thought she was starring in. And Harry? Oh, he looked like he had seen this movie one too many times. You could almost read his face when she tapped him on the back. Oh, great. Here we go again. The second she showed up, the entire energy shifted, not in a romantic way, not in a my queen has arrived way, but in that awkward, oh no, please don't make this weird kind of way. The very same man who once fell all over himself to hand her the mic in front of the world suddenly chose to keep it for himself. That's not just a glitch in the matrix. That's growth, frustration, or perhaps both.
Then she did what she always does, stood there, smiled wide like everything was perfectly normal, and tried to play it cool. Except nobody was buying it. The audience didn't react, the team on stage didn't move, Harry just kept talking. Meghan was left standing in the background, slowly realizing she wasn't part of this scene before quietly walking off like a guest who had stayed far too long at a party. But again, where is the footage? Where are the headlines? Why is nobody rolling this clip 24/7 the same way they do when Meghan flashes a forced smile or Harry scratches his nose? Because it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit the story the media desperately wants you to believe. It doesn't fit the modern royals in love narrative. This was raw. This was uncomfortable. This was real. And real is something the press has been trying very hard to avoid when it comes to Meghan and Harry. And while all of that was happening on stage, across the world, another little detail went almost completely unnoticed. Ukraine. Yes, the government of Ukraine officially referred to Harry as His Royal Highness in official correspondence. Let that sink in. The very same title he supposedly lost, the same title the palace was allegedly done with. Yet, there was no correction, no official statement, and no pushback from Buckingham Palace. Why? Because maybe, just maybe, he's not as out of the family as they want you to believe. Or maybe the palace is quietly playing both sides of the field. Either way, this was not a coincidence. This was protocol. And protocol, especially in international politics, is never random. So between the cold shoulder on stage and the silent official nod from Ukraine, what are we really seeing? A man stuck between two worlds, a woman desperate to reclaim the stage, and a palace that speaks more through its silence than it ever does with words. Prince Harry may be halfway out of the royal bubble, but make no mistake about it, he is still knee-deep in the mess. There's this illusion that he is broken free, that he is living his best California life, podcasting and poloing under the sun. But then you catch the subtle clues, like who he travels with, how he's addressed in government ceremonies, and who is still pulling the strings behind the scenes. You think it's a coincidence he went to that event with Palisades? Not friends, not private staff, Palisades. The kind of people who don't just randomly hop on private planes without high-level clearance. And yet somehow the royal PR machine wants us all to believe he's just a regular private citizen now. And if this was all just about optics, it would almost be laughable. But it's not. This is about power. Who has it, who has lost it, and who is scrambling to pretend they still do. Meghan Markle, for all the headlines and glamorous photo ops, is slipping. You can feel it. The much-vaunted charm offensive isn't charming anyone anymore. She used to own every frame, every camera lens, every single conversation. Now when she steps on stage uninvited, people just look confused instead of captivated. There's no magic left, only palpable tension.
And what happened at that Kevin Costner event? That is where the entire script completely fell apart. Meghan wasn't scheduled to be there, she wasn't expected, yet somehow, there she was, inserting herself into a moment that was never hers to begin with. The security team didn't stop her, and the organizers didn't push back, but you could feel the thick, uncomfortable energy in the air. Everyone just froze. The cameras kept rolling, but nobody clapped. No one knew what to do. It was like a bizarre glitch in the Matrix. Something fell off. Something was deeply unscripted. Then came the tantrum. Not the kind you'd read about in the tabloids with smashed glass and flying plates. This was the quiet kind. The smile is held a little too hard kind. The stand here until someone notices me kind. And when no one did, she walked off. Or more accurately, she stormed off. It was the kind of hasty exit that screams, "I didn't get what I came for." And back behind the curtain, according to witnesses, she was not quiet about it. That carefully placed smile reportedly melted the moment she was off camera. And what do you think happened to Harry once they got in the car? Do you honestly think he didn't get an earful? This isn't just a marriage under stress. It's a partnership where one half is clearly losing her grip and the other is stuck pretending that nothing is wrong. Meanwhile, the press just keeps playing games. One day, they report that Harry and King Charles will reunite in 6 years. 6 years! That's a weirdly specific number, isn't it? It feels more like a placeholder than a genuine plan. It feels like a way to keep people hanging on, to keep the donations coming, to keep the Netflix deals flowing, and to keep the illusion of a possible reconciliation alive. Because if people believe that they are still a maybe, then the Sussex brand stays warm just long enough to remain useful. But useful to whom? That's the real question. Because while Meghan tries to muscle her way back into the spotlight, the royal family is quietly playing chess behind closed doors. They're not loud, they're not dramatic, but they know the long game. They know precisely how to starve a story without feeding the flames. No official statements, no reactive press releases, just a calculated, deafening silence. And in that silence, Meghan gets more desperate, and Harry looks ever more alone. This is no longer just about a broken relationship. This is about two people who walked away from a powerful system thinking they could rebuild their own empire, only just slowly realized that they needed the old one to stay relevant. And now with the palace completely ignoring them, the press spinning ridiculous fairy tales, and the public starting to roll their eyes, all that's left are awkward glances, missed cues, and a microphone that never changed hands. The deeper you look, the clearer it all becomes. This isn't just a publicity fallout or some random rough patch in a celebrity couple's life. This is a full-on collapse of the narrative they have so carefully built for years. Meghan once controlled every frame, every angle, every mood. Now she is fighting just to stay in the picture. Every move she makes now feels forced. Every outfit, every appearance, every painfully awkward smile. It is all screaming of a desperate attempt to remain relevant. And the people around them are noticing. The insiders are no longer staying silent. They're whispering, watching, and waiting. The very thing about Meghan that once made her so dangerous was her unparalleled ability to spin the truth better than anyone else. She could take the dullest moment and wrap it in a glistening ribbon of victimhood or empowerment, depending on the need. But that particular skill only works when the audience is buying what you're selling. And lately, it seems, they are not. You simply can't keep selling empowerment while storming onto stages like an uninvited guest and then fuming behind the scenes when the spotlight refuses to follow. The mask is slipping, and what's underneath isn't some misunderstood icon. It is just another entitled celebrity who simply cannot believe the world has moved on without her. And Harry? He looks utterly exhausted, not in the "I've been traveling too much" way, but in the "I have been biting my tongue for years" way. This is the man who went from being the charming, wild-hearted royal that everyone rooted for to someone who can now barely get a sentence out without sounding like he's rehearsed it 10 times and still doesn't believe a single word of it. He's not just half in and half out of the royal family, he's half in and half out of his own identity. California hasn't made him freer, it has made him quieter, more unsure, and ultimately more trapped. Back in the UK, the royal machinery keeps turning without him. King Charles doesn't flinch. Prince William doesn't pause. The palace doesn't even bother issuing clarifications anymore. Why should they? They can simply let Harry and Meghan spin their wheels in Montecito. Meanwhile, the real show, the one that still commands respect, influence, and global attention, is happening entirely without them. Harry knows it. That's why every trip back to Europe feels like a desperate plea for relevance. Every public engagement is a calculated move to stay tethered to the crown, even if unofficially. And yet the biggest twist is that the press still plays along, not because they truly believe in Harry and Meghan, but because conflict sells. They will print fluff pieces when it suits them and then churn out scandal when it spikes traffic. One day they push glowing headlines about a future reconciliation. The next they release anonymous sources claiming the couple is on the brink. It is not journalism, it is bait. And Harry and Meghan just keep taking it.
The silence from Buckingham Palace isn't weakness, it's strategy. Every time Meghan complains, every time Harry opens up about his trauma, the royal family simply shrugs. They have realized the best way to handle a fire is to simply let it burn itself out. And that is exactly what is happening. Meghan's charm is fading, Harry's defiance is turning into hesitation, and the world is starting to care less and less. But behind all of this spectacle, there is something deeply sad about it too. Two people who truly thought they could break away and build something better are now lost in a fog of contradictions and desperation. The fairy tale didn't just end, it unraveled, live on stage in front of the cameras. And the entire world saw it, not in some loud explosion, but in a microphone that stayed in Harry's hand, in a dress that didn't fit the moment, and in the pure, awkward silence. This is no longer just a series of bad PR moments. It's the real-time collapse of the entire Sussex narrative. The freedom they sought in California has become a gilded cage of their own making, where every misstep is magnified and the silence from the palace grows louder by the day. The fairy tale is definitively over. The only question now is what, if anything, will be left standing when the dust finally settles. What do you think is next for Harry and Meghan? Is a comeback even possible, or are we watching their slow fade into celebrity irrelevance? Let me know your honest predictions in the comments below. And if you want the real story on the biggest celebrity fallouts, make sure you smash that subscribe button for Behind the Glam and hit the notification bell so you never miss another breakdown. Thanks for watching.